Hi, everybody. Welcome to your last screencast of renewable energy and conservation. This is lesson 94, I think. Um, you guys are going to have a quiz the next time I post for you guys. So it would be lesson 95, a vocab quiz. And you're going to also be assigned a project. Still working on that a bit. So, for your vocab quiz, what you're going to do is you're going to fill it in on Google Forms. But in addition to that, that's only going to be 80% worth of your points. Your other 20% are going to come from actually being on Quizlet. And that's why the past two times I think I've posted it said like join your Quizlet class. So what you need to do is you need to click on that link and join the class. You shouldn't have to ask to join from that link. But I have gotten a couple requests to join, and I'll approve you. And what you just need to do is, because now I have a teacher account with that, I can see what you guys have actually been doing. I can't see your scores of like if you're doing a quiz or something like that. I can just see that you've been practicing. So I think there are 7 different ways. It's like flashcards, kind of quiz yourself. I don't know. I wrote them down, but just kind of go through 1 or 2 of those, and I'll see that you were active on it, and then that'll give you the other 20% of your grade. Okay. Just trying to make sure that you're not just with your phone filling in the Google survey. It's really hard to grade like this. So I mean, I'm sure everyone's kind of having some issues with it. So I'm just going to, we're figuring out as we go along, everybody. So, continuing with our renewable energy, we have geothermal power, which is basically taking heat from the earth and using that to generate electricity, or you can just use it for heating stuff up. Okay, so water is heated by magma close to the surface, and you can either have it as dry steam that can be used to drive a turbine, or you can have wet steam that's sent to an extractor. Or what you can do is you can just have these pipes, basically like warm water running through it, and the warmer, it heats up your house in the winter, and then it usually cools it during the summer because it's pretty much a constant temperature under there. Okay, so with geothermal power stations, what they're doing is they're set up basically the same way as a coal, oil, natural gas, nuclear, and then even some of those solar plants that we saw in the last PowerPoint. Okay, it's wet steam or dry steam that turns the turbine, that turns the generator. Okay, so that steam then needs to be condensed back down into water, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so here you have your turbine, your generator, separators for the steam extraction. You don't need to know the specifics of how this works. Just know that it uses the heat from the magma that's close to the Earth's surface. And this isn't available in all areas. New Jersey does have some geothermal, but there are other countries that have a lot of geothermal. And the thing is that geothermal can also be a non-renewable, because if you look over here where where the steam extraction is, so you're taking out the hot water, and what you're doing is you're injecting cold water back into it. So if the rate that you're taking out that hot is overpowered by putting that cold in, you're not going to get that heat anymore. Okay, so we have a lot of advantages, high efficiency. There are some carbon dioxide emissions because it's coming from beneath the earth. It's low cost in suitable areas, but not every place is suitable for it. And it is low environmental impact. But the thing is that there are few suitable sites. It does cause nose and odor pollution. Think of that like rotten egg smell, and it can be depleted easily. Okay, and and a lot of times you do have land subsidence because you're sucking the water out. And even though you're pumping it in over here, we do see land subsidence like you see when you're over pumping aquifers. Uh-oh. All right. Wave power. Not used a whole lot, but it can be wave or tidal power. And what it does is it uses the cyclic movement to drive turbines. Okay. So it's probably not going to contribute a lot to world energy needs. There are a lot of sites, a lot of technical difficulties. You have wildlife, they're kind of big and cumbersome. Um, but what happens is as they go up and down, what happens is you have, here, let me show you a wave tube, and it has to do with the displacement of the two tubes that, oh wait, no, go back. Okay, it drives it's a hydraulic fluid that then turns the turbine to turn the generator. And then every single power module, like this one here, is connected to an anchor. And then you have the electricity that gets fed underwater. So it's kind of cumbersome and complex, and it blocks the area. And there aren't a lot of suitable sites for this. Ocean thermal energy conversion. This is cool. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't understand it 100%. It's one of those things where I'm like, oh, I want to learn more about this. But what it does is it uses the temperature differentials between deep waters and surface waters to produce electricity. It's crazy. And there are actually plants of this. There's one in Hawaii. Here we go. The OTEC plant in Hawaii. So the energy efficiency is low for this at about 7%. And when you're looking at solar, but I mean, you're looking at solar panels, they're an average of like 15%, the older ones and the new ones. So, I mean, I wouldn't write this off completely. And it's kind of cool. Nope, again. Tidal barrages. They're placed across estuaries, and these have a big, it's like a little dam. And what happens is the water goes in and the water goes out. So the gates are closed at high tide, and they're so that the tide comes in and then it holds some of the water back and then it goes out and it spins this turbine. So they're like small dams, and it happens. We have semi-diurnal tides here, so you have 2 high tides a day and 2 low tides a day. But then you're like, all right, well, what about all the wildlife and stuff like that? Okay, they block tidal flows. Then there's biomass, which is plant material and animal waste. So animal poop collected and dried in the sun. And then you have ethanol, which can be made from sugarcane, corn, or different organic wastes and wood. And what we do is you ferment it, and it's basically made into an alcohol. Ethanol is an alcohol base, not the alcohol you drink. Not that any of you drink. Don't drink. Okay, so liquid biofuels, you have biodiesel from vegetable oil, and that's where you can literally take like McDonald's used oil, and you can make it into biodiesel and put it into a diesel engine that's been retrofit to run on it. U.S. produces a lot of biofuel from corn. Brazil has a lot of sugarcane. EU is mostly biodiesel from vegetable oil. And then China is mostly ethanol from non-grain sources. I don't know what those are. Okay, so biofuel crops can be grown almost anywhere, so it is a renewable resource. There is no net increase in carbon dioxide emissions if they're harvested, burned, and replanted sustainably. So what happens is, like with fossil fuels, we take them out of the ground, we burn them, and then they have to be sequestered down and made back into those fossil fuels. But this isn't the case because it takes, let's say, 6 months to grow sugarcane. And so you're taking that carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, you're putting it back into the atmosphere when it burns. Okay. Plantations can help restore degraded lands, moderate costs. It's cleaner burning than diesel or oil. It is a renewable resource if done the same way, and it can create jobs in rural areas. Okay. However, you have clear cutting that causes soil erosion for then you to go plant these crops to harvest. Valuable land for crops is now occupied by biofuels, which means that our costs go up for food because that corn, instead of being made into human food, is being made into fuel. It raises food prices because more of that crop is used for biofuels. It's often burned inefficiently, and it can be polluting in open fires and stoves. Now, here we're not talking about like transportation. It can be done unsustainably. You need to all of our gasoline has a certain percentage of ethanol in it to kind of not water it down, but water it down because ethanol is a domestic product, whereas a lot of our petrol and our oil is a foreign product. Okay. All right. So energy savings. Energy efficiency and conservation is actually one of the biggest ways to actually just reduce the amount of electricity or energy that we use. So we can save energy a lot of different ways by having energy efficient households, hybrid vehicles, which are a huge thing now, and a lot of different future energy solutions. So here we go. Building design. You can, if you have better architecture and energy savings, you can save 30 to 40% off of your energy that you're using. Okay. You can change the color of your roof so that it doesn't get super hot in the summer. Or what you can do is have a super dark roof so that it's much warmer in the winter. If you have super insulation, okay. And then there's, oh, hold on, baby monitor. I know he's 4. I still have a monitor. So now all of these buildings are being built so that they are way more energy efficient and they meet these certain types of standards. So there's LEED, the leadership in environmental energy and environmental design, and there's like gold and bronze and platinum different levels, and you get different tax breaks for those. Okay. Green roofs. These are like my favorite things. And you can't just stick a garden on top of a roof. Like none of you can put a garden on top of your house. And buildings have to be retrofitted to actually have these green roofs. But what they are is you need a huge drainage system. Water weighs a lot, dirt weighs a lot. And so a lot of the older buildings have to be retrofit to have these green roofs. But what it does is when you're thinking about all of the urban heat island and how it's created, green roofs actually mitigate an insane amount of heat and absorb carbon dioxide that would just be going into the environment. So energy efficient houses. Insulate, plug your leaks, add insulation, use energy efficient windows. Those single pane windows don't do anything. The best insulator is air. So if you look down here, you have 2 panes, and in the middle, what you have is air. Okay, and air is one of the best insulators. That's why if you have a poofy jacket, okay, like a down jacket or any sort of fiber fill, what happens is that air is actually what insulates you the best. So if you have a poofy jacket and you're sitting on something, it's not going to insulate you as good as if it were still poofy. Okay, so I'm not going to go over this, but these are all different ways that you can actually increase the energy efficiency in your house. Okay, we waste so much energy. Energy is really cheap, so we tend to use it a lot. Because of government subsidies and tax breaks, prices don't include the true costs, the pollution of burning those coal, oil, natural gas, the nuclear plants that cost a lot of money to build and maintain. We need there are a few large and long-lasting incentives for renewables. The tax breaks are given to the fossil fuels, basically. Okay, so with hybrid vehicles, we've had them around for a long time. I'm sure some of you even drive hybrid vehicles. Your parents have some. What happens basically is it's a battery that gets charged when you're pushing on the brakes, and then your car runs on that battery for a certain amount of time, and then it uses fuel and it uses electricity. Okay, electric cars are amazing. If you want to watch a great documentary, watch Who Killed the Electric Car. Blah blah blah. Okay. So, CAFE standards. What these are corporate average fuel economy standards. So, I'm sure now you guys, not that you should be out driving around. If you are, stay in your car. You shouldn't be socializing. But prices, apparently, not that I've been out, are super low right now. And So people don't really mind how many miles to the gallon they get. But when gas is like $4 a gallon, oh, you care how many miles to the gallon you get, because that $4 is only going to buy you, let's say, 25 miles or whatever your fuel efficiency is. My car gets 32 miles to the gallon. I drive a Subaru Crosstrek. I used to drive a Jeep Wrangler that got like 14, 16 miles to the gallon. And so it costs more money to drive in the Jeep than it does to drive in the Subaru. Okay. Okay. So what happens is our fuel economy standards keep going up and up. The US, we have pretty low fuel economy standards, whereas in Europe, they have very fuel efficient cars. They're paying $7, $8, $9 for a gallon of gas. So they want to make sure they can get really far on it. Okay. Ooh, hydrogen fuel cells. What this does is it reacts oxygen and hydrogen to make electricity. The issue we have with hydrogen fuel cells is we need the hydrogen as the source. And the thing is we haven't figured out how to make the hydrogen, and it's more energy intensive to make the hydrogen to then use it in the fuel cells. So it's like not efficient at all. But if we can figure out a way to do that, it would be super amazing. So what happens is it works with an anode and a cathode, and these hydrogen ions pass through it. And what it does is it messes with the electrons, just like the silica in solar panels, and that's how it actually creates that electricity. Okay. So public transport is the most efficient user of transport energy. A bus is more polluting than your car, but you have 40 people on a bus. If we improve our engine design, aerodynamics, weight reduction, then that's going to reduce our fuel consumption as well. Okay. Our energy consumption is going up. It's going to continue going up. So what we need to do is make sure that our demand is going down. Right now, fuel prices are so low because planes aren't flying and people aren't driving. It's insane, obviously, what's happening right now, but it's also insane to watch what the earth is doing around the world and how pollution has cleared in so many different areas. Um, it's kind of mind-boggling. So that's it for screencast number 3, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.